What happened to Aston Martin's Le Mans Hypercar project? A return to sports car endurance racing for the British manufacturer looked possible. The program's development moved into a more advanced stage, and it looks like Aston was gearing up to return to top-level endurance racing. So in this video, I will dive into the details on Aston Martin's failed attempt of the Hypercar class. Founded in 1913, the Aston Martin company is known for producing luxury sports cars, as well as grand tourers. And Aston Martin truly defines what a British sports car is. The British manufacturer has produced so many amazing cars. We have to go back to cars such as the V12 Vanquish, to the powerful DB9, and to cars as luxurious as the DB5, which became even more famous for being featured in the James Bond films. Besides road cars, Aston Martin has gone into motorsport countless times. One of their biggest achievements in motor racing was taking to the streets of Le Mans, France for the first time in 1928 to contest in the fierce 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Aston Martin DBR1 took overall victory at Le Mans in 1959, beating rivals Ferrari, Porsche, and Jaguar to take a 1-2 finish at the 24-hour classic. Aston Martin has returned to Le Mans many different times across the Group C era and then again in the LMP1 era with help from Lola. Aston has also been involved in the decades-long battle in the GT classes. Recently, there was that thrilling battle in GTE Pro when the Aston Martin took the lead from the Corvette on the final lap of the 2017 24 Hours of Le Mans. Aston Martin eventually won because of that last lap pass. To discuss Aston Martin's LMH project, we first have to look at the regulations themselves. To do this, we need to look at the events leading up to the creation of Hypercar. After Audi left in 2016 and Porsche the following year in 2017, this began the demise for the top-level category in the WEC. One of the factors for the downfall of the prototype category was that no new manufacturers were interested in joining the LMP1 category. So the organizers decided to remove the class and replace it with a new category, Hypercar. So in 2018, the regulations were introduced, and that LMP1 would conclude at the end of 2020 and be replaced by Hypercar in 2021. Almost instantly, manufacturers were interested in entering the Hypercar class and getting involved in these new regulations. And if you want to find out why they were interested, then check out this video in the top right corner. Aston Martin were among these manufacturers fascinated by the new top category of the World Endurance Championship. They were first interested in surrounding their project with the Le Mans Hypercar regulations. And then they confirmed they would derive their Le Mans Hypercar from an already existing road entry, the Aston Martin Valkyrie. Wait, hold on a second. We haven't talked about this just yet. You may be asking, what's the Valkyrie? Well, the Valkyrie project was a collaborative effort between Aston Martin and Red Bull Advanced Technologies. Adrian Newey, who designed some of the best Formula 1 cars in history, actually helped to design this hypercar. The Valkyrie was originally intended to be a road-going car, just like the Mercedes AMG 1, which I talked about in a previous video. The Valkyrie might be one of the coolest hypercars I have ever heard of, and here's why. Derived from the Valkyrie AMR Pro, this Le Mans hypercar prototype would produce a staggering 1,160 horsepower, which is around 865 kilowatts. Another fascinating part about this car is that the engine is bigger than any LMH or LMDH prototype that's either on the WEC or IMSA grid. The engine that produces that amount of power is a massive 6.5-liter V12. So I guess that engine directly explains why this car sounds the way it does. So from what it sounds like, Aston Martin had a car that was relatively ready to go racing with the likes of Toyota and Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus. The question remains though, what happened? Well, there are multiple factors to consider here. Factor 1 is the perspective of financial backing for the hypercar entry. It seems originally some of that money to pay for the entry in the WEC or IMSA would come from customers buying road-going versions of the Valkyrie hypercar. Something else to consider is the announcement of LMDH. This was actually part of the reason for Aston Martin to pause their program, because when the LMDH regulations were announced, Aston Martin had to reconsider their plans to build an LMH entry, as the LMDH entry might have been a better option for the British automaker. And it wasn't just the idea of the LMDH regulations being better for Aston Martin than LMH, because something pretty big happened. To explain this situation, we must talk about Formula 1. During the 2018 season of Formula 1, the Force India Formula 1 team was put into administration. As the summer break ended and the teams were getting ready for the Belgian Grand Prix, it was announced that Force India had been bought by the company Racing Point and Lawrence Stroll. From 2019, Force India was renamed to Racing Point, with Lawrence Stroll now the owner. In 2020, after investing money into Aston, Lawrence Stroll took a 16.7% stake in Aston Martin. This was around 1 month before Aston Martin confirmed to postpone their hypercar project. After the partnership with Red Bull ended, Aston Martin was considering all possibilities to join as a factory team in Formula 1, and they got their shot with the Racing Point team. And so later in the year, it was announced that Racing Point F1 team would be renamed to Aston Martin Cognizant Formula 1 team. Stroll and Aston saw big things ahead for the team, and the project of having Aston Martin in F1 truly seemed to work. Come 2023, and Aston Martin has signed two-time F1 world champion Fernando Alonso to team up with Lance Stroll, and they have built a great car that shocked the F1 community when Aston Martin jumped into the top 3 positions of the championship and is consistently beating the likes of Ferrari and Mercedes, who last year were in the top 3 as well. And even Fernando Alonso took the lead of the race in the second round of the season in Saudi Arabia. So what now? Well, I don't think we'll see the Aston Martin team head over to Hypercar or GTP. It seems like they haven't revisited the idea of the Valkyrie heading into racing. It seems like the F1 project is working really well for the Aston Martin team, and I think that's where their focus lies. This is just hypothetical, but later down the line, if Aston Martin decide to revisit the project of them heading into top-level endurance racing, I don't expect them to bring a factory team into either motorsport of the WEC or IMSA. I think the more likely possibility is that a customer team will buy a Valkyrie Aston Martin and take it to the Hypercar Class, either to participate in the full season of the World Endurance Championship or just Le Mans. The possibility of a customer team running an Aston Martin hypercar does sound possible in my opinion. As for who would run an entry like this, the first team that came to my mind was Heart of Racing. They won the 24 Hours of Daytona just last January, and they have run Aston Martin's cars in the past. They've also done some testing with the Valkyrie at Laguna Seca. Although this is a long shot, it's still possible. A fun idea that came to mind was, what if Red Bull decided to get into the World Endurance Championship? They were in partnership with Aston Martin in the past, and they did have a piece to play in the Valkyrie's production. Although this is highly unlikely, I would like to see Red Bull get in partnership with Aston Martin once again and maybe try out the World Endurance Championship along with F1. Aston Martin's Le Mans hypercar was probably the most advanced project that never made it to Hypercar or GTP. It's a little unfortunate that we never got to see a factory program from Aston Martin's Valkyrie project, but that's how racing goes sometimes. Aston Martin's F1 project is flourishing, and maybe down the line we will see the Valkyrie at Le Mans with a customer team running it. So that concludes the video. What did you think of the story of Aston Martin's cancellation of their Le Mans hypercar project? Do you think it was the right move by Aston Martin to head over to F1 instead of Hypercar? Of course, let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section. If you're interested in more endurance racing content, subscribe to the left to see weekly videos here on this channel. And watch another video right now that's similar to this Aston Martin story. So with that, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.